Hey, you too. What's up? This is the Reluctant Nobby back again. Back again with my news and views, my views on some of the news out there, and some big news. Righteous black men and brothers and sisters. We are at war. All right. And I'll explain that in a minute. All right. So, first, uh, oi to the bang. Vasses los. Bonjour, mes amis. Ni hao ma. Konnichiwa. Kedu Bawani, um, Jambo Habari Gani, and Sani Bonani. All right. Um, we're at war. If you're a sister, then you must understand this is not your fight. If you are a righteous brother or a brother seeking righteousness, and this is not about religious affiliation, this is righteous brothers against unrighteousness. We are at war, and it's our fight. Our sisters, if it's a sister, then she should not want this fight. She should not be fighting in this fight. She should have our backs. We fight this war. Our sisters have our back. If there is no sisters having our back, then it's just us. All right. But as we fight this, we then can allow others to have our back. See, other women like strong, righteous men. All right. So whoever wants to deal with righteousness, we take them. Now, this one is what black men tried to build, the modern black woman destroyed. All right. So what black men tried to build, the modern black women try. They don't try. The modern black women seek to destroy. So I'm gonna just say that. So what black men tried to build, the modern black women seek to destroy. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be able to destroy everything, but they're seeking to destroy. All right. We're going to be dealing with primarily two women in particular. And this is based on a video that a brother sent to me and told me to watch. I told him thank you. I don't know if I could shout out his name. So I sent the thank you message to him uh, based on the video. He'll know it when he sees this video I'm making now. Because that video he told me to watch, um, and I watched it and I learned some things, and so I'm gonna present it to you now in this video. But I want you to be aware of two things: the the black woman that you saw that was standing with Gloria Steinem in that iconic picture with the white woman and the black woman holding the fist up that they took from the Black Power movement. All right. The woman that I said stole the Black Power movement, gave it to the white woman so that they could subvert the whole black community. Her name is Dorothy Pittman Hughes, right? And so I wanted to concentrate on the video of Gloria Steinem in the last video I put up, so that you can have a little more background to where I start hitting these um, black women that were pioneer of the black family destruction. And we're going to deal with Elaine Brown and Dorothy Pittman Hughes. And Elaine Brown is mentioned by one of the Black Panther founders who's going to tell you exactly how the Black Panther movement was subverted. All right. So, Dorothy Pittman Hughes, born 1938, is a feminist child welfare advocate, African American activist, public speaker. So they're pioneering African American small business owners. And when they say feminists, they're not talking, they do nothing for African Americans. They only do stuff for females. That means they'll pioneer for white females and black females, but not African Americans. So anytime you see that tag on feminists, we need to call out the news reporter and say that the feminists, the black feminists, do not um, they are not representing African Americans. They're only representing females, white females and black females and females of any other race. All right. So just because they are quote unquote African American don't mean that they speak for African Americans. All right. She speaks for females and females only. So that's a misnomer. They need to squash that tag. Mother of 3 daughters. Notice no husband mentioned. Shelter for battered women. Um, child development, administrators. So they go through all these things. And what I wanted you to pay attention to is right out in the middle, where you see the year 1972, was co-founder of Miss Magazine in 72. Why is that important? I'll tell you in a minute. Now, I want you to pay really close attention to co-founder of Miss Magazine. And this is a picture of her back in her younger years, right? She looks like what these conscious sisters look like now. And so we should never judge these women solely on their outward appearance. That's only the start of judging to see what kind of woman they are. All right, because she got the afro, the dashiki, and all of this stuff, and she is the one. She and other black women took our movements and gave them to the white women, and then immediately started to subvert the black men and destroy us from the inside. I told you about all the good things that came up as a result of the Black Panther Party. All right. And I got a dude on here that's going to really break it down, one of the founders. But I want you to pay attention to that, right? And here it is. This is Gloria Steinem's thing when I presented her video. She was working for the CIA to sabotage the civil rights organizations. And they use black feminists to sabotage the civil rights organization. Understand this. That's why when these black women say they stand for the African American community, no, they sabotage the community also that they can help the white women get rights for white upper class women. The only people benefiting from their sabotage, the black woman sabotage, is white middle class, upper middle class women. White upper middle class women. Not poor white women, not poor Hispanic women, not poor black women, but they all believe that they're going to get a piece of the pie, but they don't. All the civil rights, all the quotas for minorities go to white upper class, upper middle class women. Period. It's a backdoor for the white man to hire his wife instead of hiring any black people. Then they'll give black women token things, as Melissa Harris Perry found out. They give them token position to thank the black women for the destruction of their black men and the black family. All right. Now, I want you to understand this. Gloria Steinem created Miss Magazine so that they can do this, subvert the black men and the black community and utterly destroy them. In the late 70s and early 70s, African American organizers became concerned about a pattern which agents posing as black feminists infiltrated their community groups in an effort to split off the women members to separate the organizations. They traced the phenomenon back to 78 when Steinem put out a book called Black Macho and the Myth of the Superwoman. The cover of Miss Magazine. What did I say this other Dorothy created? Miss Magazine. That thing was created to subvert us. The book was allegedly written by a black feminist and activist named Michelle Wallace. In her early 20s, Michelle Wallace, who, like Steinem, came out of nowhere. All right. But look, I want you to see what she says in the book. Wallace called abolitionists like Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth ugly and stupid for supporting black men. All right. Y'all understand this now. Miss Magazine.
Now, Bobby Seale, the clarion call of the Black Panther Party was power to the people. And you spent certainly virtually all of your life trying to give people in the community more power and control over their lives. In the 30 years since you started the Panther Party, how much improvement have you seen in members of the black community's ability to take control over their own lives?
I got to put this in context. You know, when we came about, we were sort of in what we call the second phase of the civil rights struggle. It's a hindsight analysis. We were about not only the Black Panther Party sneaking its attempt into the South, trying to evolve political electoral black community unity. That was a time when there was only, 400 maybe or so duly elected black politicians. I mean, from the federal all the way down to the Board of Education level. What we see that came out of that 60s protest movement was at the end of the 70s, we're talking about 6,000 or 7,000 duly elected black politicians. At the end of the 80s, 10,000 duly elected politicians. The problem is that it was only half a victory because hypothetically 50% of the politicians ain't worth crap, even the black ones, right? Probably 70-80% of the white ones are not worth crap either. My point is that was the second phase. The main thing, though, was how do we get to the economics? How do we evolve a new economic practice that makes some human sense? And that is the area, you see. Now, we can talk about and measure from the 60s with the Kerner report, when they spoke of what 2, 3, 4% blacks were of the educated property owner class, etc. And if we measure with the basic medium income and the levels of discriminations and lack of fair shares access to education, what have you, and jobs, at the time we made, well, there's been some changes. On the other end, we can look at Black America particularly, and we can see 25% of the African American community with less than $5,000 income a year.
Now, as I understand, I mean, the kind of the two foundations of the Black Panther Party was self-defense and self-reliance, self-help. But with the passage of time, I mean, so much the Black Panthers have become just the self-defense side. The black berets, the clenched fists, the guns, and that we seem to have forgotten, or there hasn't been the same attention paid to the literacy programs, the breakfast programs, the self-help and the community programs. Why is that, you think?
That's because when we say that we would defend ourselves if we're attacked by any races, I mean, that captures everybody's imagination.
It's a little bit more exciting than breakfast in a bag, I guess.
We were reacting to the several years preceding that period, preceding October 1966 when we created the Black, we were reacting to all of the brutality that had been launched on the peaceful demonstrators. Remember, Huey was in Knight Law School, and the constant reference, as Huey used to say, every time they jump on the peaceful demonstrators, they're violating the First Amendment of the Constitution because it clearly states that all of them have a right to peacefully redress and peacefully assemble, and they only peacefully assemble. Now Bull Corner and the racists are jumping on them, therefore they're violating their constitutional rights, they're violating the law of the land. This was Huey Newton. So when we came along looking at this for several years, we started, he says, oh, we're going to stand for self-defense. If you attack us, we'll shoot back. But we did it by law. We were so damn legal when we went out to patrol the police and observe the police with illegal guns. We knew all the laws on that. It blew the cops' mind. The fact that we knew all our civil rights laws. And
Well, and the fact, I guess, carrying an unconcealed weapon was completely lawful.
loaded, unconcealed. Remember, I was in the military, so the youth was trained. I had Albert Howard, big man Albert Howard. He helped me because he was in the military, so we were trained with the weapons. All these particulars we trained in before we went to the patrol. It blows the cops' minds that Huey could articulate these points of law. He could pull out some Supreme Court ruling particular related to the such and such amendment. This is due process law in the 14th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. Therefore, you cannot touch my private property. Therefore, move back. Do not, you know. And the black people in the community saying, damn, what kind of mess is this? They never seen it. So their imaginations were being captured. Little did we realize the policeman's imagination was being captured. Little did we realize the whole nation's imagination was being captured. Little did we realize when I took the delegation to Sacramento, armed delegation in the California State Legislature, when they was trying to make this law against us carrying loaded weapons in city limits, it captured the imagination of the whole world. We didn't know this was going to happen.
Did it capture, though, to the detriment of the other good work the Panthers were doing in the community?
What happens is that this was only in a 6-month period. We hadn't even got to the Breakfast Children program didn't start till '68. The health clinics.
Oh, really?
That's the point.
So all the focus on the Sacramento march.
Right. We were a ragtag little group. Before Huey went to jail, there was never any more than 75 people who had been through the party. When I went to California State Legislature, I had 24 males and 6 females, and maybe 5 or 6 other party members who had jobs they had to go to. This is what we had in the first 6 months. But we got this international notoriety. We were like a social evolutionary accident in the middle of an ongoing civil human rights protest that was already there. And we put civil rights right on the cutting edge, civil human rights protests right on the cutting edge. And so we got that notoriety for that before the preventative medical health care clinics, before sickle cell anemia check-ins, free breakfast programs, free food programs, senior citizen safe programs, taking the senior citizens back and forth so they wouldn't be mugged and stuff. Before these programs. And then later we ran, in late '68, we ran for political office. I ran on the ballot. Kathleen Cleaver was on the ballot, Eldridge Cleaver, and we put Huey Newton's name on the ballot while he was sitting in jail. Later in 1972, after myself being a political prisoner in jail without bail for 2 years, I won the cases. And I ran for political office again as the mayor of Oakland, but we didn't make it. But by the time I got ready to run for mayor of Oakland, the Central Committee voted that I was going to do so in January of '72. There were no more physical attacks on our offices. 28 was already dead. We won 95% of all the courtroom cases that we've been in because we have one of the most profound legal teams. Give that credit to Huey because Huey was in that vein of thinking of understanding the whole legal ramifications.
Another image that I think a lot of people still have of the Panthers is with those little red books, the Chairman Mao books.
That's interesting. Because a lot of times, like, people are writing that this was the ideological base of the Black Panther Party. Not true.
Yeah, so I was wondering, that's my question, is how important was ideology to the Panthers?
Well, ideology originally from the Black Panther Party grew out of us understanding African and African American people's history of struggle for that. I mean, I was chock full of information from '64 to '66. I'm saying that by the time we ran into this red book, it was just a thing. Right after we had escorted Sister Betty Shabazz, we might have been 4 or 5 months old. He says, hey, man, how much money you got? And remember, we're still a ragtag organization. I don't know, $70, $80, man. Come over, I know how we can raise some money to pay rent and buy some more shotguns. Next thing I know, in my car, Hugh didn't have a car. We were headed to the China bookstore in San Francisco, some obscure location. We get over there, and they said, you can buy these red books for 25 cents individually. If you buy them in a pack, you buy them for 20 cents. I said, we'll buy 2 packs. So we bought 50 red books. We went back up to Save This Gate in University of California. We hadn't even read these things. We knew they were popular in the media because the media would show millions of people holding up Chairman Mao's red book in China. So here we are, 5 or 6 of us. Get your red book, $1, and they were going like hotcakes.
White liberal college students.
Get your red book, $1. We have not read this thing. We run back to the China bookstore and buy these guys out, man. We buy 200-300 books and sell them out. We run buy some shotguns, pay some utilities and some rent. The next day we're doing the same thing. Finally, we heard about a big anti-war rally 3 weeks later at Kezar Stadium in San Francisco. I mean, they must have, what, 25,000 people in this anti-war rally. We left the guns at home. We went in there with a couple of thousand red books. We still have not read this book. We go in there and sell red books for $1. Then, I guess a little bit after Denzel Dow's situation in North Richmond, when he got killed by a policeman, Huey and I happened to be sitting in my house and said, hey, man, there's some nice stuff in here. Look, you not steal not a needle and a piece of thread from the people. We got to reading this thing. So we adopted these little aspects out of the Red Book, and I made little rules out of them, not necessarily per se the Red Book. But the Red Book is a form of required reading for the Black Panther Party members. I never implemented that till my organization started growing like wildfire. I says, everybody got to read the Red Book. That was in 1968, after Martin Luther King was killed. See, because after Martin Luther King was killed,
that's when
that our organization swelled from 400 members to 5,000 members in a matter of 6 months. It was almost too fast, but I kept up with it. But that's when the Red Book became part of a lot of required reading. Because prior to that, you had to read W.B. Du Bois's Black Reconstruction, Basil Davidson, even Blues People, the autobiography of Malcolm X. I had a list of about 25, 30 books one had to read that had largely to do with African-American people's history of struggle. W.B. Du Bois gave us this very rather class analysis of what the situation was as it related to the color line and as the color line related to the class analysis, but coming from really an African-American perspective. So the real ideological approach evolved out of that. Red Book and stuff was secondary. Then, of course, in 1968, we got a handful of Marxist-Leninists come in the party. Then they clashed with me a bit because some of them are trying to argue the Soviet Union state-controlled command economy socialism. I says, bull crap, I don't like it. What do you mean? I says, if you're going to argue dialectics, over here you have the avaricious, racist, corporate monopoly capitalists. You're saying that the antithesis to this is Russia's Politburo, state-controlled command economy socialism. What about us, the people, can be in control? This is about power to the people. Our slogan is all power to all the people. So later for some Politburo, later for some corporate money rich, we need to get down here, and this is the true synthesis. That was my argument in the late 60s.
So the rank and file Panthers weren't ideological. They weren't.
Yes, they were. They were very ideological. They were ideological, but I was the key in central political education.
Well, your 10-point program, I know, was instilled.
That was it, but it was beyond that. We went beyond that 10-point program. In many cases, you had party members trying to read the 4 works of Mao Zedong, reading Che Guevara. But what I would do was show the party members that they don't necessarily apply in an overdeveloped, fast-paced, high-tech social order. That we're living in a different situation. So you're not living in the rural, you're not living in the woods and the hills, you're living in the urban. So I was high-tech anyway, you know, Gemini missile program way before, and architect, United States Air Force, high-tech. So I understood that relationship. I related more, even after I studied my African history, I related more to the mineral resources in the bowels of the earth of Africa rather than whether or not I'd wear dashiki. See, so the aesthetic was secondary.
Right.
And I'm dealing with the need, how do black people control more of the mineral resources in the bowels of earth so they can have a decent standard of living and more community control of the political, economic, and social justice institutions that affect their lives.
Now, with the passage of time, it's become absolutely crystal clear that, in fact, the FBI did have a program of undermining the activities of the Panther Party. And in fact, I think the Senate Select Committee on Government Intelligence Activities in '76 said the FBI engaged in lawless tactics against Black Panther Party and responded to deep-seated societal problems by fomenting violence and unrest. I mean, pretty tough indictment of a central agent of government. Yet it's interesting, I've read in your works that you don't believe that it was the FBI and only the FBI that was responsible for the demise of the Panther movement.
What I call the final demise is the difference. I'm not going to take the FBI off the hook. They've violated our constitutional rights. I think Wesley Swearingen, with his recent book, FBI Secrets, South and Price published, exemplifies that. He's an FBI agent who's revealing real murder tactics, particularly John Huggins and others. Now, the FBI violated our rights. They fermented that split between Eldridge Cleaver and Huey Newton, all of that. Now, let's get into the fall of '73. Elaine Brown is running around telling little lies on people so she can get close to Huey. I think somebody said this about you, Chairman, servant, and they disrespecting you. And one day, Huey, beginning to snort cocaine, abusing that, jumped on a rank-and-file party member and beat the hell out of him. A whole herd of 100 and some odd party members just left. Who the hell he think he is? And people were peppering off because of this kind of crap. I'm jamming you. We put you in the hospital twice behind abusing those drugs. We had Dr. Small. I mean, we actually put him in the hospital. I'm not trying to take away Huey's early contribution. I'm telling the truth of what happened. People need to know the whole truth. If you only have a half a truth, it's the biggest lie in the world. This is what happened in the real demise in late '73 and early '74. In May of 1974, I discovered Huey Newton is trying to take over the drug trade. We've bundled down to 250
in Oakland now.
Oakland, San Francisco, Barrett. That's the only branch and chapter operation going, except for a skeleton crew with a free ambulance program in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. There's no Chicago. All the chapters have been broken down. They don't exist anymore behind that Mayoralty campaign. So now you see the real demise that's beyond COINTELPRO. Unless Huey Newton and Elaine Brown was working for COINTELPRO. See, so this is the trouble with so many parties.
All right. So now you understand this Elaine Brown. All right. And she became the chairwoman of the Black Panther Party. All right. Kathleen Cleaver held the position. Now, this woman got next, spread lies to get next to Huey Newton, got him drugged up, split the party up from the inside. This black woman did this by herself. You heard the guy explain it, right? Now, what I want you to pay attention to is, this is some stuff about Elaine Brown. And go look at all these men that she was involved with. Jay Kennedy. All right. Now, she gets next to Newton. In '74, Huey Newton ousted co-founder Barbie Seale from the party. 2 days later, elevated Brown to the position of chairwoman. When Newton fled to Cuba, Brown solidified her position as leader of the male-dominated party and worked to redefine or undermine the Panthers' revolutionary program, including the aspirations of black women, which is abortion and black women's rights and separation from the black men, and to subvert the leadership of black men in the family and to think that they are equal to black men. They wanted all the black men's leaderships, as they say, right? But they wanted none of those responsibilities that went with it. That's why you got the black women that want to raise the children, but want the black men to be financially responsible for them. He don't get a say; he just get to pay. All right, and so this woman is responsible with the aforementioned women for this. All this is courtesy of the independent, feminist, white man-loving black woman helping to destroy the black man, family, and community. This is what these women stood for. Period. Abortion kills more black people than AIDS, violent crimes, accident, cancer, and heart disease combined, and almost doubled. Black women. Oh, excuse me. Why do they abort? 98% because they just felt like it. Bottom line. New HIV infections among women and girls. U.S. female population by race and ethnicity. Okay, that would go 64% to black women, right? But here's the scary part. They're only 13% of the female population. Oh, and this 13% is responsible for 70% of the weave purchase. Now you know where your child support money is going to. And what's the weave purchases? Billions and billions of dollars.
Explain what it is, why we are where we are, and what will happen if we don't affect that number.
Well, just to say so that your listeners would understand, the Hispanic woman, each Hispanic woman has 3.4 children, or almost 4 children. Each Hispanic woman, at least 3. Mm-hmm. Caucasian women have 2, every Caucasian woman has at least 2 children. Mm-hmm. The African American woman now is having 1.97, meaning she's not at replacement rate. We are not at replacement rate because 2 people should have another 2 people to replace themselves. Okay, so we are below that for the first time in our history being on this terra firma. And so you have to understand that is directly linked to our high abortion rate. Now also remember this, because this is key. That number in 2002 by the U.S. Census includes citizens from the island communities, Jamaica, Trinidad, Tobago, Haiti.
All people of color is what you're saying. Yes,
all people of color. So you got to understand, that means the indigenous black man is near extinction.
Right.
All right, here's my final thoughts. Brothers, we got to break it down. It's cracker food versus intellectual kung fu. All right, you got your simps and all the weak-minded Negroes that's following these black women because they're falling for the cracker food. The black woman is responsible for the cracker food. The intellectual kung fu, that is going to be us men and just us men seeking righteousness. For you women seeking righteousness, you need to back out of this. Let us do our work. And we like your support, but it's going to be led by us and fought by us. We just need you to have your back, because at the end of the day, somebody has to be there to raise and teach the children and tell the story. That's why women don't fight wars. All right, because somebody has to teach the children and tell them, tell the story, tell them how to stand up, and tell them the difference between righteousness and evil. All right, brother, it's time to take a stand and whoop that. You know what? It's going to be us against these evil black women and their simps and their weak-minded Negroes that they're going to use as their attack dogs. With that said, I am out.